Welcome, everyone, to The Distraction. This is not a bit. Robert O'Neill is here. We have graphics for him and everything. I did take liberties with the graphics because I have the ear of the graphics department, but I worked hard this weekend to try to get this whole thing settled, to try to get it all worked out. I couldn't do anything over the weekend. They said it's a legally binding contract. O'Neill is the co-host. Deal with it. Hi, Robert O'Neill. How are you?
I'm great, Jeremy. How you doing, man?
I'm terrible. I'm doing this show with you. I missed Joseph already. I got my first COVID shot today. Like this is my flu game right here, well, O'Neill. Like
you know what? You should make the best of it. And Joseph's not here. We can go back to what you originally wanted this show to be, where we just spend, 3 or 4 minutes per topic and move on. That's what you wanted. That's what you originally wanted. Joseph kind of steered you away from it, and I want to get this back to what you wanted.
I see you're trying to appeal to me right now, and I appreciate that. I'm not throwing Joseph under the bus with that. Our show went in many different directions, but that was the original idea of the show, and I appreciate that you're trying to appeal to me. You're trying to make me comfortable here. We're going to get through this. It's going to be a long road. I'm not going to lie to you, everybody. It's going to be a long road, but everyone get used to it. You just got to get used to it. Got to get to that beautiful Robert O'Neill face. You got a haircut this week for this?
Yeah.
Like my hair is still a disaster, but I do appreciate you trying to be professional and getting a haircut. I appreciate that.
Yeah, well, it was time, and that was a good excuse to get my haircut, look nice for this and, show the people how a professional looks.
Definitely not me. Not a professional at all. Guys, get your super chats in. Please get your super chats in. Many reasons. First reason is that this could very well be our last show if O'Neill tanks the ratings and we get canceled. So this could be your last chance to support us. Second reason is your super chats, your question, comment, statement gets read on air. And we need all the help we can get with Robert O'Neill here. I can only do so much. I'm Bret Hart. I'm Brett, Carey, and Tom McGee and everything here, but we can only do so much, all right? So we need the audience participation here. Our buddy JJ sends a super chat. Hope my favorite big star and solid hand, Robert O'Neill. Hope the day as well. About time AEW made Britt Michael Jordan Baker the champion. We're going to get into that. We will talk about the AEW, WWE, NXT women's division later on. Ricardo Holt says, for the big star. You can only assume he's talking about me. Definitely not talking about you, O'Neill. All right?
Well, that's okay. I think by the end of this show, they will come around on me.
I hope so, because this is permanent. And if you tank the ratings, O'Neill, if you cost me this job, I'll never forgive you. This has been the best thing that's ever happened to me. News writing is fun and everything. I would not be where I'm at without the distraction, without Joseph. If you cost me this, O'Neill, never talking to you again. So you're going to need to pull your weight here.
Yeah, no, stakes are high, man, but I'm here. I'm ready for the pressure, and let's go.
All right. We're going to start off. We're going to talk about the AEW. Let's put time on the clock. Everybody remember when we used to put time on the clock? That gimmick? O'Neill has brought it back for us. We'll do 4 minutes on the clock. Does that sound good, O'Neill?
Yeah.
All right. AEW and Impact. They have a relationship. It started in December when Don Callis helped Kenny Omega win the AEW World Championship. This Sunday at Impact Rebellion, Kenny Omega faces Rich Swann. AEW title against Impact title. The winner walks away with them both. O'Neill, what have you made of this relationship in the past 5 months that it's been going on?
It's been interesting because I think when it started, everyone had high hopes. You penciled in some cool matchups that would have been cool to see, and then it mostly just revolved around the same few guys. And AEW promotes themselves on Impact, but Impact doesn't really do the same on AEW. And I've kind of come around of thinking that might be more Impact's fault than AEW's fault at this point. Because I think Tony Khan said somewhere the other day, he's buying that ad time on Impact, that's legitimate, and Impact's just not doing it back. So it's not necessarily up to AEW to, let Impact promote their stuff without any compensation. So I've kind of come around a little bit where I see what this is doing for AEW and I don't see what it's doing for Impact, and it doesn't really surprise me that Impact isn't maybe handling it the best that they could.
JJ says Swan looks like a mid-carder to Omega. We've had no Rich Swan on Dynamite, and this has been pretty disappointing because it's very possible, it's not possible, Kenny Omega is going to win, but it's possible that Rich Swan could win the AEW world title this week. And AEW's done nothing to present this man as like, hey, you could tune into our show next week, and you could see a different world champion. You might not see Kenny Omega as the world champion. You might see Rich Swan as the world champion. They've done nothing for this. They ran like an ad or two during for Rebellion during Dynamite last night. Otherwise, just nothing. Omega's showing up, and that's been great, but I haven't seen the Impact benefit outside of, they pop some viewers on Access and Twitch and stuff, but they've got no mention on Dynamite. And Tony Khan can play it off in these busted open interviews of like, I'm paying for ad time to promote AEW on Impact. Like, Impact's got to pay ad time to get their stuff on my show. There ain't no time to get Impact stuff on your show, Tony. You don't give them no time to promote no ads. You're like, oh, we got to throw to Jim Ross, and we got to throw to Tony Schiavone to get interrupted again. Like, you don't have any time to do all this.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but at the same time, at some point, the leadership at Impact has to be like, let our guys be on if you want this to be an actual partnership. Because again, I don't see what it's doing for Impact otherwise.
It's not doing much. And storyline wise, they're trying with it because Callis doesn't care about the Impact roster. What does he care if his guys show up at AEW? He only cares about Omega. Like, Scott D'Amore should be a little more like pushing for it. I think Rich Swann should just like show up and be like, hey, fuck you. I'm coming after your title. I'm going to show up on Dynamite and I'm going to take you out. I'm going to take out the Elite. Like, I thought that was going to happen last night. And it didn't. I really, really cannot believe they have not had Rich Swann on any of these Dynamites leading up to this, especially last night to go home Dynamite.
Yeah, and I guess, if Kenny does win, I'm assuming he's going to win, then maybe, when he has both titles on AEW, they'll send some people then. But yeah, it's very strange because the only people from Impact that have really benefited from it are Gallows and Anderson, I think.
Gallows and Anderson, they benefit from everything. Those men are just geniuses. They're like, yeah, we'll take this Impact money. Tony's probably paying us something. Access is paying us something to do this little watch movies gimmick. We're making our own money with talking shop. Like, these are the smartest men in wrestling here, especially Gallows, because Anderson's doing all the work in the ring. Gallows just standing on the apron, just jerking off, popping himself. Like, bless that man.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, man, work smarter, not harder.
That's right. You got to learn from the best, Kevin Nash. That's how Kevin Nash made all the money. He didn't do anything. Everybody loves him now. He's on Twitter calling everybody crackers. People love that shit.
Yep.
Do you think this partnership, like, we're assuming Omega wins. There's really no reason. We'll continue. There's really no reason to think that Rich Swann is going to win at this point. Let's say Omega wins. What comes next for Impact? What does Impact gain out of this next?
I mean, ultimately, someone on their roster has to beat him for the title at some point, right? So that person gains something.
Do you think they maybe do a triple threat match and Omega just doesn't take a pinfall loss?
Yeah, I guess that's also possible. I don't know, man. Again, it's been confusing because they haven't had really anyone go over and be on Dynamite.
Omega is going to Charlotte Flair this thing. Come in here, get the Impact title, lose it in a triple threat without taking the loss, and it'll be good for the growth of Rich Swann as Moose pins him in a triple threat match.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen, yeah.
AEW Dynamite last night opened with Ricky Starks, Hangman Page, O'Neal. You love both of these guys. I don't blame you. Both these guys are very good. What do you think of Dynamite overall?
I think Dynamite was very good. A lot of action there. You have the 2 title matches. You have, for as much, there's talk about, they have too many factions and everything. They do a really good job working everyone in. They get, 70 or 75 people on screen in the 2 hours, and that's an accomplishment.
Is it?
Well, in a way it is. I mean, I could see how it feels too crowded, but, it's cool. And I think in particular, getting a guy like Jungle Boy in that main event spot, kind of helping him elevate a little bit, even though he lost, that's good too. I mean, and they've been doing this without Cody, and, Mox has been around a little bit, but Cody hasn't been around for the past couple weeks. So there's a top guy you don't have. Mox has been in and out, and it's cool to kind of see other people get elevated, I think. And, you go to Starks and Hangman Page. That was a really good match, and really two guys who can be the cornerstone of that company for, I think, the next 10 or 15 years going forward.
I think they clearly see something huge in Hangman, and I'd be shocked if he's not the guy to beat Omega for the AEW title probably this year. Ricky, they obviously really see something in Ricky as well. Tony always praises the two guys he mentions in every single interview is Ricky and Darby. He loves both guys. Ricky gets a lot of wins on Dark and Dark Elevation. I'd like to see him pick up some more victories on Dynamite because he's always put in high-profile spots. Like, I don't think he has really any good wins on Dynamite, and he lost at the pay-per-view on the cinematic match with Sting and Darby. So I'd like to see Ricky pick up some actual key victories there. Hangman, again, that's their guy going forward. He's number one in their little rankings, which they're putting some more effort into the rankings. I can appreciate that, especially with the Britt Baker stuff, which we'll get into later. But I can appreciate that they're finally doing more with the rankings. MJF's another guy in that everyone seemed to love his promo last night, O'Neal. I think you skipped this promo. Did you actually watch this Pinnacle promo with good old JR?
Yeah, I mean, I did go back and watch it. It is very good. MJF's a great talker. I don't like him very much, but he's also a heel. You're not supposed to like him. That's something that I think it's important to remind yourself about. And yeah, he's another guy who's 24, 25. He's another guy who's going to be the future, I think.
He's not the future, O'Neal. He's the now. He's doing, you listen to the promo, you claimed you did anyway. And he said, Jericho is curtain jerking at this age in WCW. He's already beaten Jericho. He's about to headline Blood and Guts. He's got big victories over top guys. He's competed for the world title. He's main evented pay-per-views already. MJF kind of is the now. You got one pick, O'Neal, top overall pick. You got MJF, Ricky Starks, Hangman Page, Darby Allin. Who you take?
Ooh, I'd probably still go Hangman because I think he's the most ready at the moment and probably over the next few years. But I don't think you can go wrong with any of those guys. I think you could see all those guys being AEW champion one day.
I think I'd have to go Hangman as well because I'm with you. He is the most ready of all those guys, and he's really found himself after that early run where he challenged Jericho for the title. It was clear he was not ready. They did him no favors with the 20-minute match against Kip Sabian. I think it was against Kip Sabian. Did no favors with that match. His Jericho match was fine, but it just is a little too soon for Hangman. He's done a lot better since then, coming to his own with the Omega tag team, and now as the singles run with the Dark Order stuff. Everyone knows I love Ricky, complete star. I'm glad he's okay after nearly breaking his neck last night. Thank God he credited DDP Yoga, so thank God for the DDP Yoga that he's still alive. Darby's a guy they clearly love, and for good reason, because he's someone who will go above and beyond with doing different vignettes and stuff. But they main event stuff. He's main evented Dynamite for 2 straight weeks now. They main event shows with Darby. He feels like one of their true main eventers because he's actually in the main event every week. And MJF, everyone's gonna praise his promo work. I'm not super big on all these hey, let's use insider and shoot terms and all this stuff. You can leave that, but he's definitely a great promo. And Jericho was oh, you have no conviction in your words. Dude. This man, everything he says is with conviction. I thought Jericho's promo, not great last night.
Yeah, no, Jericho's promo wasn't great. MJF definitely had the better one between the two, but it kind of is what it is. Jericho is what he is at this point. I don't know how much longer he's going to be there after his contract runs out, and clearly it feels like the door is open if he ever wants to go back to WWE, given, Vince still is very high on him. So
I don't think Jericho's going back to WWE. I think he's enjoying this AEW stuff, and I mean, he said it in the interviews, like, I know where I'm at in WWE, and that's not going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe for like the pop or whatever, but he's going to get much bigger pops in AEW. Honestly, at this point, they love the Judas song.
Well, that's fair. I mean, he's not gonna come in and be like a Goldberg type where he can main event a show with your champion in WWE.
I think that would be the way Jericho would come back if they give him essentially the Goldberg deal of like, hey, come in, do a little one-off, and that'll be that. But I think he's having fun. He's getting to do all his wacky ideas, and he's getting to hang out with his friends. He's getting to do his Mimosa Mayhem matches and stuff. He's getting our guy Luther main event spots and stuff. So I think Jericho, he's sticking with AEW. But that promo, I don't know. It was rough. Jericho can have some rough moments in AEW. Do you suck meat through straws?
I do not.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's apparently what's going to happen at the Blood and Guts, according to the Jake Hager.
God.
Not a Jake Hager fan?
Not a Jake Hager guy.
Is he cut from the Inner Circle, like Brian Cage is cut from Team Taz?
I think everyone except Santana and Ortiz is cut from Inner Circle at this point, since Wardlow's not there anymore. Yeah.
Fair. Yeah,
so
that's pretty fair. Two well-dressed men, Santana and Ortiz.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, Pinnacle, they got dressed up just to sit there. I mean, Wardlow got to speak, but Cash, Dax, and Spears are just like sitting there in their Sunday best and didn't get to say anything. Poor fellas.
Well, they're the new Four Horsemen, man. They got to look nice.
They are. They did look very nice. I can appreciate that. Let's go on to your favorite subject, O'Neal. This is my new favorite subject, actually. I'm NXT guy. I've rebranded as NXT guy, Jeremy Lambert. This show used to be banned from our show. O'Neal's here. Now we got to spend 4 minutes on this topic. I cover 2 shows a week because I cover SmackDown. But alone, I only cover 1 show a week now, and it's NXT. I don't know how I got this gig, but it ain't bad. It's better than covering Raw every week. Let me tell you that. NXT, Robert O'Neal. Kyle O'Reilly, it seems like he's heading for a showdown with the Karrion Kross. Talk me into this, please. Try to talk me into this.
I think it's going to be hard to talk anyone in if they don't already like Karrion Kross to start liking him now. But, Kyle O'Reilly's done very good work over the past, year at this point. I think his match with Adam Cole was a little too long, but it was good. And all the Finn matches were good. So I think if someone that can get a good match out of Karrion Kross would be Kyle O'Reilly. He seems like the clear-cut challenger at the moment. They teased it a little bit. They had him go over Cameron Grimes, which I thought that was really entertaining in the first segment and the match. Just kind of on NXT in general, they, after TakeOver, did a reset the past couple weeks where you don't know exactly where things are going, where on Raw, the night after WrestleMania, you knew pretty much the entire Backlash card. So they didn't really do a reset. And I appreciate NXT doing that reset.
I've loved NXT the past couple of weeks. I'm throwing out the L word like my man Bronson Reed, who loves love. I've loved NXT the past couple of weeks. It's felt way more focused than it did on Wednesday nights. And maybe, Triple H can call it an imaginary war or whatever. I do think it's helpful that they're just off of Wednesdays because they were clearly like trying to counter what AEW was doing. We all loved NXT before AEW came around. Triple H was getting Booker of the Year and everything. They were giving him his flowers on Reddit every single week. They're like, oh man, Papa Paul, look what he's doing with the Gold brand. Let him run the whole promotion. Let him run the entire wrestling world. He can do no wrong. And then AEW comes around and it's like, oh man, Paul kind of sucks. I don't think he knows what he's doing at all. This ain't working out too well. And, when AEW comes around, they were on Wednesday nights going up against them. They were throwing out, here's Halloween Havoc, here's Great American Bash, here's Starrcade, here's Fall Brawl, here's all this stuff. And they were clearly countering what AEW was trying to do. Now that they're back on Tuesdays alone, they can kind of focus on themselves. And I thought the last 2 weeks, that's exactly what they've been. They've been more focused in the stories they're trying to tell. I think that the way stuff has been good. I like Kyle O'Reilly. The reset of his character of Cool Kyle was a little weird following that big match against Adam Cole, but I like what Kyle O'Reilly does in general. So I'm a fan of it. I think the women's division with Raquel, Io, now they got Taya in there. Like it's looking, and Saray, like it's looking good. The women's tag team stuff, I can just we gotta stop with that.
You know, they don't really need that. They have a dog now, so that's fun. Everyone likes when you bring a dog in.
True. Do you have pets, O'Neal?
I do. I got 2 dogs.
Really?
Yeah.
You've sent me pictures because I've liked the dog pictures. So
yeah.
Can they make an appearance on this podcast right now?
They so they're in St. Louis. I'm in Chicago for the week because I'm off. So yeah.
Oh, well, that's no good. Well, next week you can have the dogs on, right?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. All right, so next week, everybody, O'Neal's going to bring the dogs on. We'll have a good time with that. Look, the dog's the biggest star on the show, but I like what NXT has done the past couple of weeks. My problem is their champion being Karrion Kross. I can't get into his stuff.
No, he's not a guy that I've ever really been able to get into. And I think, his match with Keith Lee was good. His matches with Balor were good, fine. I mean, maybe not good,
Yeah, that Keith Lee match was rough. That was a rough match. The
interesting thing about that match, though, is, they kept it short instead of doing the typical NXT 30-minute main event, which I think was good. But, overall, it probably wasn't a great match.
No.
Yeah.
No, the Keith Lee match was rough. The Balor match was fine. The finish they could have shortened that up a little bit, but other than that match was fine. I think Kyle O'Reilly, he'll have a good match. He's having matches, especially with Balor and O'Reilly, because Karrion Kross wants to be this MMA guy. He's a shoot fighter, even though his girlfriend does witchcraft, and he tries to explain it of like, we feed off of each other's energy. She has the energy of the supernatural, and I have the energy of the bloodlust. And when you come together, we just want to murder everybody. This is real words, all right? These are his real words. I'm not making this stuff up. Like, I'm just like, this has never been explained, dude. To me, I'm watching you do your Muay Thai in the gym, and I'm watching her shoot fireballs out of the book, and I'm like, what is this? Who is this possibly for?
Yeah, it's kind of like they took both parts of The Undertaker and gave them to 2 people instead of just one person. Because, he started doing the Hell's Gate later in his career, so,
I like this comparison here. So we're saying Scarlett and Karrion Kross had a baby, and it was The Undertaker, but The Undertaker just came first.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I can live with this. So The Undertaker got split when he retired, and half of them became Karrion Kross, half of them became Scarlett. I'm for this. I'm totally for this. Anything else on NXT that you enjoy?
No, I think we covered everything.
Cameron Grimes? You want to talk about Cameron Grimes?
Yes, Cameron Grimes is great. He's doing great work. They're supposed to be bringing Ted DiBiase in for him soon. I hope that's true. That will be hilarious. Yeah, really looking forward to that.
I mean, that's what Ted DiBiase himself said. He said he's going down to the Performance Center. Ja Morant got a shout out on Wednesday's NXT. So, we'll see. It'd be cool if they could bring in Ja Morant. Never going to happen. Hey, guys, send in super chats. Again, O'Neal's going to tank the ratings. This is going to be our last show ever. Support this show while it's still on the air, okay? We've got to pay some bills around here. So, man. Daniel Bryan, speaking of guys who aren't going to be around for very long, Daniel Bryan, he's done about 3,000 interviews since last October, and in every single one, he says, my contract is up, and I don't know if I'm going to wrestle full-time anymore. I want to be a husband. I want to be a father, and we're going to have to work something out with WWE. He's talked about wrestling in different companies. He said in a meet and greet, I'm trying to weasel my way into wrestling for multiple companies. I don't know if he's gonna do that one, but Bryan maybe bidding farewell, O'Neal.
Well, the thing about multiple companies, the forbidden door is already open, so he just has to walk through it. He doesn't have to open it.
You got to knock, right? Bailey requires knocking at least. You think Bryan just got enough clout to where he can just walk on through?
I think he can just walk right in if he wants to.
All right. Do you think he's going to do that? He seems, he talks a big game, but he might be a coward and he might not just walk through.
It's interesting. Like, if there is a guy that I think would have both the goodwill and desire to go work somewhere else while still technically maybe working for WWE, it would be Daniel Bryan. Like, you look at, if there's any guy on the roster, would he be the one you pick to go do that? Just all things considered.
Yeah, but Vince ain't letting that
Well,
happen. Like,
yeah,
here's
that's
Bryan
the
on
other thing.
SmackDown. You just saw him wrestling Christian on Dynamite this past week. Vince
Yeah.
ain't letting that happen. No way.
No, and I think that would be really the biggest hurdle, which kind of prohibits the whole thing from happening. But I don't know, maybe if he's not under contract or if he gets a Legends contract. Well, if he gets a Legends contract, he can't really be on TV everywhere else. He can go work, some baseball field in Alabama for 300 people. But
Maybe he can work the AEW house show. It's on, it's on television, so he can show up there.
yeah, there you go. I think it's interesting with Bryan because what else does he really have to accomplish at this point? I mean, this second run that he's had has been just kind of a surprise in general, and then he came back. He had a great title reign, and he's been just kind of working with all kinds of guys trying to get him over, get him to work. And I think he's a guy that can help out creatively if he is not already doing it, if you believe what he says, that he's not helping that much already. But yeah, I mean, is there a guy in AEW that I'd like to see Bryan go wrestle? Not necessarily, but
Really, you don't have like, oh man, Daniel Bryan would have a great match. I mean, Daniel Bryan's gonna have a great match.
yeah, he'd have a great match with anyone. That's why it's so hard to pick. Like, oh, this is my Daniel Bryan dream match because he could go work against anyone and it would be very good.
Well, Daniel Bryan against Dax.
That'd be fun.
Daniel Bryan against the Butcher. It's a good match.
That'd be fun, yeah.
Daniel Bryan against it's our guy Luther Serpentico handicap match against Bryan.
Absolutely.
I mean, Bryan usually is the one carrying people, but Luther and Serpentico probably carry him to his best match ever, I'd imagine.
Exactly. So, I want Bryan to do whatever he wants to go do. That's basically where I'm at. Like, he doesn't. If he doesn't want to stick around WWE, that's fine. He's obviously deserves whatever he wants to do.
That's very kind of you to just want Bryan to do exactly or whatever he wants to do. I think he's going to stick around WWE. If he doesn't want to wrestle full time, then companies are going to start going back out on the road. I would imagine by like the summer, maybe late summer, maybe August. But I do think that the companies are going to start going back out on the road within the next 6 months here. So. So if Bryan wants to be home full time more than he wants to be on the road, I think WWE is still the best case scenario for him because they're going to pay him the most money. I think AEW will offer him good money, but WWE is going to pay him the most money. They're going to give him the most perks when it comes to this stuff. I still think he has like a debt of like loyalty to WWE, especially with the way they've treated his wife, Brie, and Nikki as well. So I think he's going to end up sticking around in WWE and just kind of working a small time deal, showing up when he wants to. He'll show up on Raw. He'll show up on SmackDown. As he wants to wrestle guys in NXT. As he wants to wrestle guys in NXT UK. Maybe he'll go over there, do those shots. I think that's what Bryan means when he says, I want to wrestle for different companies. He wants to go work in front of the Capitol Wrestling Center and the BT Sports Studio and things like that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I don't know why you'd want to go work in front of the Capitol Wrestling Center crowd, but
they're booing MSK.
Sucks.
Horrible.
It's terrible. You can't do that.
Just absolutely horrible. JJ says Bryan against Walter. Yeah, man, like that's a match I definitely want to see. I want to see Walter against anybody. That's another guy where I'm just like, yeah, throw him in there against anybody, and I'm good with it. I mean, Bryan's going to have banger matches with anybody. Rob Wilkins says, this is not the clusters blank that I imagined. Thanks. Well done. Also, Daniel Bryan, if I have a wife and 2 kids, I'm using any leverage before resign. Bryan's not dumb. He's gonna get what he can out of whichever company he's going to. He's gonna talk to AEW, I'm sure, because AEW, he can then work Impact matches. He can go over and work New Japan stuff. He might be able to get like some New Japan matches out of WWE, because like Jericho was able to kind of finagle that in there, and then of course Jericho turned it into a whole different thing. But Bryan might be able to get some New Japan matches out of WWE.
Well, and I'm not saying he's going to play this card, but John Laurinaitis is also his father-in-law.
That's a good point, O'Neal. That's a good point. You think he's gonna pit Laurinaitis? What kind of card is he playing with Laurinaitis? He's just gonna be like, what's he gonna say? How's this gonna work?
Well, that's really the question. Be like, hey, man, I'm your son-in-law. Give me some more perks or whatever.
I mean, is Is it really son-in-law though? I don't know how family trees work because
I think
it's
he's
like,
their stepfather, so like he's probably around because he's currently married to the Bella's mother. So
yeah,
you
but
would,
I don't think he has like an actual relationship with like Bryan though, because Bryan has no relationship to Mama Bella. He's just married to Brie.
well, no, but I mean they're around each other. Do you watch Total Bellas and Total Divas? And
Of course, I watch Total
they were
Bellas and
all
Total.
they were all at John Cena's house for John Cena's House Rules.
Yeah,
So
I remember all of this stuff, but again, I don't know what the actual relationship is there. I think it's in-law, right? Is it
yeah,
that's what it'd be? So stepfather-in-law.
father-in-law, yeah.
All right, Jesus. What's next? Goldberg. Let's talk about Goldberg. Not Joseph, unfortunately, not Joseph. Joseph actually just messaged me, and he said he'd like to come on to say farewell to everybody. You kicked him off the show last week. You didn't even give him a chance to say goodbye. He posted a goodbye message on Twitter that just said, "Love y'all, I'm out." I got many DMs, many messages. People were very worried about what was going on with Joseph. He hasn't tweeted. He's been gone for an entire week. It's been tough. I've been in contact with Joseph, everybody. We've messaged throughout this past week, just so I know he's doing okay, because we're friends. We do this show, and we have a good time doing this show, but we're actual shoot friends, all right? So he's been doing fine. Everyone that sent very nice messages, thank you. He is alive. I can confirm he is alive. Please don't worry that something happened there. He wants to come on and say goodbye. Can this happen, O'Neill? You're the boss, apparently, of this show now.
I think we owe that to him. I mean, he gave a year and a half of good service here.
Good service. That's the meanest thing you've ever said. You kicked this man off the show last week, and you're like, yeah, year and a half, good service. He got his little, what do you get when you retire from the police force? You get your little watch, whatever. Yeah. You get your $20 watch. Like, yeah, have Joseph come back on. We'll give him his $20 watch. Send him on his way.
Well, we don't have a corner 3 today, so we do, Joel Holbert's corner kick or whatever because he's British.
We can do Joseph's corner kick. So 4:00, Joseph will come on. He'll say goodbye to everybody. Music and Moonsaults, our buddy Chris says, Joe's supposed to talk TNA 2006 with me next month, and now I can't get a hold of him. Thanks, O'Neill. Chris, I'm sorry. Like, O'Neill, you can have O'Neill on to talk TNA 2006. Like, if that's what you want to do. Joseph's not doing any appearances. I tried to get him to come on Twitch on Tuesday because I was like, the Twitch contract isn't really like the distraction contract. It works together, but I'm pretty sure we can get out of this. And Joseph was like, no, like I'm done. It's over. And then once you found out I was talking to Joseph about this, you stepped in and you were just like, no, this isn't happening anyway. I'm coming on the Twitch. We're gonna do baseball. I know you don't even like baseball that much, Jeremy, but we're gonna talk baseball on the Twitch. It's the worst week of my life, Robert O'Neill. I hope you know that.
It'll get better. It can only go up from here.
Not if I got to keep doing this show with you. Let's talk about Goldberg. Goldberg was on. He's sort of on the bump. Really, they just showed watch-along footage from WrestleMania, and he talked about potentially wanting to do a match with Big E. He's still got like a match left for this year, and I'm pretty sure he's got 2 matches left for next year. O'Neill, Goldberg's your guy. You love him. You love Big Bill. Talk to me about this.
I mean, I think against a guy like Big E where they both want it, you can still do business there and it'd be fine. The Drew match wasn't great. I can admit that. It was what it had to be.
Every Goldberg match is the same. He does like a spear. He takes 5 finishers. He can't jackhammer anybody. He does like a hip toss jackhammer, whatever you want to call it. Like,
well,
it's all the same.
And that's why maybe having his matches be against guys like Ziggler, which they did, and I think they did a good job with how they booked that one, or Corbin, or Sami Zayn, one of your mid-card heels who lose all the time and it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, but that's great. Let's have these people lose these matches to Goldberg.
Is Sami Zayn going to be hurt if he loses to Goldberg?
No, but that's the problem. Is he's not going to be hurt because the people just love Sami Zayn. Like, actually have him win some of these matches. How about that?
No, that's true. But
Corbin, I don't care about. But like, quit having Sami Zayn take these losses.
But I think a Goldberg against Big E match would be good because, they're both interested in it, clearly. And I think they can make it work. You just keep it short. Goldberg can't jackhammer Big E, I don't think. I would be very surprised, but
I wouldn't want him to try it. I'll say that much. I would not want. I love Big E. We don't need to lose him because of Bill Goldberg.
I think, give me the Big E match, give me Goldberg and Roman, and that's it for me for Goldberg.
Why do you want to see him face Roman? What's the appeal there?
Spear versus Spear, man.
So that we already saw the spot where Roman and Edge collided into each other. I don't want to see that with Goldberg. Goldberg's older and more broken down than Edge. Goldberg's going to turn into dust if they do that spot.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just think it's all about how you use Goldberg. Because if you bring him in and immediately put him in title matches, people are going to get mad. But like if you use him in non-title fashion and actually, if Big E beats him, that's a thing that you need to happen. But are they going to have Goldberg lose? They've had him lose to Brock, and that's it. And Braun last year, which was dumb.
They lost to Drew.
Yeah, he lost to Drew too.
So I lose these title matches.
Yeah, but if it's against Big E, it probably won't be a title match because you would think Big E's going to beat Roman if he wins the title. And then why would the Goldberg match be after the Roman match?
If they have Goldberg beat Big E, it'll just show how stupid this company is. I get it if you want him to beat Sammy. I get it if you want him to beat Corbin because, yes, these guys take a bunch of losses and it's like, they're heels. They can come back from it and stuff. To beat somebody like Big E, JJ mentioned, or Alfred Dominic mentions Lashley. Well, to beat someone like these guys, no. Like, it just can't happen.
No, and I mean, when they did it with Brock, it was fine. Like when they had Goldberg beat Brock because, I mean, you'd never seen someone beat Brock like that. It was a rematch from WrestleMania 20, and then they came around and had a really good rematch. I think that WrestleMania 33 match is incredible.
I mean, I like the Mania 33 match, but like they gave Brock the streak, and then the big capitalization off that was, hey, Goldberg beats him.
Well, the problem with giving Brock the streak, it wasn't a problem with giving Brock the streak. They gave Undertaker the win back at SummerSlam, so that was the problem.
That was much bullshit.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, I mean, I think you got to pick how you use Goldberg. Did you like Goldberg beating the Fiend Bray Wyatt? I know you have your bits, but did you actually?
I mean, that was the moment that made this show what it was, because Sean Ross Sapp called us trolls for enjoying that. Hey, like actual take on that? No, like that was a very dumb decision to have Goldberg beat the Fiend Bray Wyatt after you built up the Fiend the way they did. Poor Bray, man. They just cut that man off and don't let him do his shit. But like, as someone who just doesn't take wrestling serious and was like never got like the real full appeal of the Fiend despite all of my bits, I thought that moment was hilarious.
Yeah,
I thought it was hilarious. But then, and this isn't their fault, Roman didn't want to work in the Performance Center with the pandemic, and I don't blame him. But like the follow up to that is Braun's the champion now, so it's like,
well, yeah, and that's really the hard part about it, because in an actual like WrestleMania setting, the Fiend beating John Cena instead of losing the title to Roman is better for him at WrestleMania, and Roman, taking the title off Goldberg instead of the Fiend is better for him at WrestleMania too.
I mean, John Cena against the Fiend in a WrestleMania setting, it may have been what we got with Orton and the Fiend this year. Like, that man just needs the cinematic stuff because no one care of him like trying to work a wrestling match.
Yeah,
and,
that's fair.
I mean, I love the Fiend. That's my guy. But yeah, it's tough trying to watch that man do an actual wrestling match, especially when you spent months setting people on fire and everything like that. Like, you can't go from, you got set on fire and now let's work a 7-minute wrestling match and I lose to one RK. Where are you at on the Fiend, Robert O'Neill? I don't know if people actually know your Fiend takes. And I mean, that's a big part of our show. Let's throw the Fiend logo up on the corner here. Like, this is a big part of our show, the Fiend Bray Wyatt.
I've kind of been in the same place with Bray Wyatt from the past, 7 years, where he cuts really good promos and does really cool vignettes, and then he gets in the ring and he's just a guy. Like, and that's not even like he should wrestle different. He just isn't. He's like an average wrestler.
I
He
mean,
doesn't
yeah, I
do
get
anything
that,
impressive.
but I know he's not going to have these 5-star matches and stuff. But this man has gotten these characters over. Like, he took cult leader Bray Wyatt, and people were fans of it. Everyone loved the Wyatt family stuff. And then the Fiend character, say what you will about it. Like, when that man came out at SummerSlam, people were like, "Oh man, this is the coolest thing ever." And then he killed Finn Balor with the neck snap and sent him to NXT and everything. We're like, "Oh, this is so great." And then they neutered him by putting him in that horrible Hell in a Cell match, and neutered him more by putting him with Goldberg, and then neutered him even more with this Randy stuff, and then Alexa and everything. I get he's not the best worker in the world, but WWE is all about these characters and stuff. And he's got 2 characters over, and they've completely failed to capitalize on the actual momentum and popularity on him. That's not his fault.
No, yeah, I wonder how much of it is from the pandemic, though. Like, how much of this is different if you have actual fans there for a year. I don't know. But you make a good point.
What do you mean how much is different if the fans are? The fans are going to love that. They love the Fiend. They hated the red light, but they love the Fiend.
So I think they capitalize a little more if they have fans for the past year. But
they still had their opportunities. They let them do the cinematic stuff. Bray could have just done an entire thing just doing cinematic stuff. Would have been great.
That's true. But if you're at, a WWE pay-per-view, do you want to watch a 10-minute match on the screen when you're in the crowd?
I don't know. Tony Khan's talking about doing intermissions at pay-per-views. So why not do a 10-minute match on the screen? I said my idea for WrestleMania was you start the match in the ring and everything, you brawl to the back and stuff, and then you do your little gimmick there. And then you just have other stuff going on. You pretend like the match is going on, and you come back. 10 minutes, people can sit there for 10 minutes while watching a screen. They sit there for these performances. They sit there for these video packages and stuff. That'll be fine. And that will serve as like an intermission instead of, hey, here's some downtime type thing.
That's fair. That's a good point. Yeah.
We got to talk about Brock because it cannot be a Robert O'Neill show. I just assume we're doing weekly Brock segments on this show. Like, okay, I'm glad that's on the format for every single week. Brock Lesnar, you said he's coming back. You said he's coming back every week, right? Like,
yeah, I think maybe on Raw next week.
You thinking Raw next week?
Yeah.
Book Brock's return for me.
I mean, it feels like Brock Lashley is your big match at the moment, right? Like, Brock Roman is a thing that's there, but you have seen it a lot. Even though I think the roles will be reversed this time, it gets a little too confusing with Paul Heyman, I think, and I don't know that I trust them to do the right thing. But Brock Lashley, I mean, they both did MMA. They both are big, legitimate athletes. It's a match I think people want to see at SummerSlam. It's a big attraction. And I believe it was you that said, you don't even need that long to build it, where you just have MVP cut a couple promos for a couple weeks, and Brock can even talk for himself without Paul Heyman. I think you talked about that a couple months ago.
I didn't say any of this. We've never talked about Brock Lesnar on this show until you came around.
Sure.
I don't have use for Brock Lesnar.
But yeah, I mean, I think he can come back and work a very good match with Lashley. I mean, because Brock's a guy like Goldberg where you're kind of running out of matches that you really need to see before he retires, I think. And there's also the question of, does he need to be around the title picture?
No, he doesn't. That's the problem. If you just have him come in and do some like one-off matches, I think it'd be great. Look, I love Brock. I think people will get mad because that's the thing is he is around the title and he takes the title and then he just he commandeers it and he's not defending it every week and things like that. And so that's what people get mad at. If you just have Brock come in and just do like some one-off matches, I think that's fun. The problem is the title is like the most interesting spot for him right now because of who the champions are. Because Lashley and Brock is the match that people have been talking about for years. And Lashley gets asked about it literally every single interview he does. I cover a lot of Bobby Lashley interviews. Every single person asks, hey, when's this Brock match going to happen? And Lashley's got to try to give a new answer every single time. And bless the man, he does his best. But you can only say, I don't know, so many different ways when you're doing 300 interviews a week. And then the other interesting match is the Roman match. And again, Roman has the title. So those are your two most interesting matches. He'd be in title picture in both of them. Obviously, you can do other matches. You can do something like Edge. You can do the Bryan match, which I think we all loved. You can do like an AJ match. You can do like I'd love to see the Big E match. Big E goes after Brock for revenge for Kofi, something like that. Like there's plenty of stuff to do with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, no, and you bring up Edge. I think Edge would be a really good one because we didn't even really get to see it in Brock's first run because Edge was gone for most of that run with his neck. So I think that could be a really fun match at some point.
Did they work? I'm gonna look this up right now. But do you know if like they actually worked at all?
They so one of the UK only pay-per-views, I think Edge faced like Brock and Heyman in one of those weird handicapped, and that's about it. I don't think they've ever had a singles match.
You're right. Rebellion 2002, Brock and Heyman against Edge. That went 20 minutes.
Yeah,
that was good too. And then they had a tag team match on SmackDown: Edge and Mysterio against Brock and Tajiri. They have had singles matches. They were all at house shows though. So we never really got a proper like Brock and Edge program.
Yeah, and they could feed into that. And even if it's not for the title, I don't know who you have win, but you know.
Probably Edge. I mean, Edge is it depends on how long Brock is still. Like Edge can lose and lose like nothing from it. And I do think it'll add to some extra mystique, not that he needs it, of Brock Lesnar. But like, you got to book these matches. Somebody's got to win. They'll do a distraction finish. They love putting over our show on WWE.
You know what the other thing is about Brock, though? Like, we know so little about him. It feels like, would it surprise you if he just never wrestles again?
No, not at all.
Exactly. Like, he's, from what we hear, perfectly fine just hanging out in Canada on his farm and hunting and stuff.
Yeah. Well, Brock's coming back for the money. We know that. Like when the money is good, Brock will come back. And I'm sure Vince will keep offering him the good money. I also think Brock wants to work with fans. I don't think he was getting too much enjoyment out of those performance center shows. Like from everything you hear about Brock from different interviews, like he actually does love working and likes feeding off the energy of the crowd and likes working with guys that he can tell a story with and everything. Like you can't really do that when there's no people in the audience to bite on these false finishes and stuff. I don't think Brock wants to work in front of a bunch of dummy screens either. Maybe once so he can throw somebody into them and break them and stuff. But otherwise, I don't think Brock wants to do that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too.
Rob Wilkins says super chat and says, my sources tell me Bryan and Johnny Ace are close. They went as Legion of Doom for Halloween. Ace refused to be Animal. I'm on Impact Watch Along tonight. Look at Wilkins getting some shit over and plugging. Yeah, we're doing an Impact Watch Along on Twitch at 7:45. It'll start. I mean, Impact starts at 8, but that'll be on Twitch. The Impact Watch Along. It'll be Joel Pearl, Steven Jensen, and Rob Wilkins. There is no post show on Twitch today because of WWE financials at 5:00. I have to cover that. And O'Neal is, what do you have to do, O'Neal? It's like your cousin's birthday or something, right?
I'm going to a birthday party.
There you go. Do you have a birthday hat? You got a lot of hats. Do you have a birthday hat?
I don't. I thought I had a hat near me, but
I like that you're looking around. I thought you were looking for a birthday hat. I was waiting for you to put it on.
I'm not in my usual space here, so.
All right. Well, you got to find a birthday hat. You can't go to your cousin's birthday party without a nice, party hat.
That's true.
Carlos Easy says, Bob, I heard you have a friend that works at the Tampa airport. Will they be on Brock Watch?
Yes, absolutely.
What's John Cena, or not John Cena? I mean, what's he up to? But what's CM Punk up to, O'Neal?
Hanging out outside the airport, man. Whatever airport is convenient for him to be hanging outside of that day.
Are you excited for a CM Punk return? He's been doing a lot of media. I feel like all these interviews, he's setting up for a big return, right? Why else would he do all these interviews?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so, man. A lot of people are like, oh, CM Punk against Samoa Joe.
Don't lie. You don't care if CM Punk comes back or not.
I like CM Punk. He's very good. But,
you're a Chicago guy. Is that why you like him?
Yes.
Okay. That's it. Because you don't seem like you're a CM Punk guy.
But a lot of people are like, oh, we need to do CM Punk against Samoa Joe. And it's like, it's not going to be as good as it was. Why are you going to do it? It'll be fine, but.
You don't want to see 2021 CM Punk against Samoa Joe in a 60-minute Broadway?
No, not at all.
You don't think they could pull it off?
No.
They could. You're right. Punk's not. You don't think Punk's coming back at all? It's just not going to happen.
I don't think so. I mean, he's had plenty of chances over the past, even since AEW started. He's had plenty of chances, and if he wanted to, he would have by now, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's happening either. The guy seems, he gets asked about it in all these interviews, and I know he's promoting a movie. Just because he's doing interviews with everybody doesn't mean that he's coming back to wrestling. Yes, I know Touch of Madness. He's in Jacob's Wife, I think is the movie called. You think all these interviews I've listened to, I would know the name of that.
He's in movies now, man. He's like Cena. He doesn't need to come back.
There's definitely a big correlation between Cena being in Fast 9 and CM Punk being in whatever horror film. I'm sure the horror fans love that stuff. That's just not my genre.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We teased it in the thumbnail. Let's get into it. The women's wrestling, Robert O'Neill. This was your most fired up topic. You messaged me and you're like, the one topic we definitely got to talk about. And I saved it for the end to keep the people around. The viewership's going up. You've done well. I don't think we're going to get canceled this week, but next week could be a different story. Women's wrestling, O'Neill. You think AEW has had the best women's division in recent months?
Yeah, it's definitely been better than both of the WWE main roster shows. I don't think it's necessarily been better than NXT, but considering where AEW was with their women's division, obviously they had nowhere to go but up, but they have. I mean, ever since that women's tournament, I think it's been a lot better quality than the Raw and SmackDown stuff, and probably in ring too, with a couple exceptions on SmackDown here and there, but yeah, I mean, and they're doing a really good job. Britt Baker's been elevated a whole lot since coming back. Thunder Rosa, obviously. Ty Conti has been awesome. Sheeta's awesome. It's just they're really doing a good job building everyone up, I think. And they deserve credit because they took a lot of flack for that for a long time.
Yeah, they've done a great job. They always preached patience. That was their whole thing. In all these interviews, Britt was like, be patient. Kenny Omega, who books the division, was like, be patient. I do think there was a disconnect for a while where like Omega wanted to do some stuff. He clearly wanted to focus on like the Joshi talent. And then Brandy wanted to do whatever she wanted to do. And so I do think there was like a disconnect between that kind of stuff. Now that Brandy has seemingly taken a step back and Omega and Tony Khan and even Sheeta, it seems like Sheeta has a hand in some of the booking stuff. She helped put the tournament together. It's definitely been better. I'd like to see more focus on just like give Sheeta an actual title program, because right now she's just kind of having like one-off matches with stuff. And there ain't much. Like the story is more who can take the title from Sheeta, which is fine because she's had a lot of defenses. She's had a long run. But there's been no real like substantial story for Sheeta. Britt will, again, the focus is going to be on Britt. Like the focus was on Tay for this match leading up. It's kind of like the focus was on Abaddon. The focus is going to be on Britt. Once they get the title on Britt, like then the division is going to be, they'll have their center point. They'll have their Jordan. They'll be running the offense through Jordan. And I know that Sasha Banks can be Jordan. Britt Baker, the real Michael Jordan of wrestling.
Yeah, and I think it's exciting too, once the Iconics have their 90 days up, once Mickie James has her 90 days up, those are people they could bring in too, and that would even add more to the division.
Yeah, we'll see if they bring anybody in. I think Chelsea could happen. The Iconics, maybe. I do think Mickie, I've said it the entire time, and Almatic points out in the chat that Mickie got a care package and a trash bag from WWE. So, look, I gave the EP her birthday gift. I delivered that in a trash bag. Okay. So you can show love by sending a present in a trash bag. All right. Let's not read too much into that. They'll have WWE release some talented women on last Thursday. So AEW could pick them up for sure. I think they've got a good roster right now. I would take the NXT women's roster over the AEW women's roster. Does this mean that like, hey, it's been booked better? I mean, the WWE has a better women's roster than all of this, than all of them, but they just don't know how to book them at all. And so that's also an issue.
Yeah, no, I think, NXT's probably been the top, and then AEW, and then, SmackDown's right below, and then Raw is pretty far below that.
Yeah, I mean, Sasha Banks to me is the best women's worker in the world. I think Charlotte you say what you will about her, but she's very good. She obviously has a star quality that you really, really can't teach. And then the depth of the WWE women's main roster is good. They just don't utilize any of this stuff. They're like, oh, we got to do Tamina, and we got to do Nia Jax, and Shayna Baszler's got to lose to a distraction roll up, and all of this stuff. Like it's tough. Josh Baker says AEW seems more comfortable from storytelling perspective to have heel champions. I'm hoping they do more with Shida once she loses the belt. Yeah, that could be possible. But Moxley was the champion the entire run throughout 2020, and I mean, he did really well. I think part of the problem with Shida is, one, she was traveling back and forth to Japan and things like that. She was trying to help put the tournament together. And I just don't think they had the depth behind her at the time. Like they gave Penelope Ford a random match at a pay-per-view because she won a 4-way, and then they haven't done anything with Penelope Ford since then. And I'm not saying they should have pushed Penelope Ford to the moon, but like she had a good match with Shida. Felt like you could have capitalized off that. The same with Abaddon. Like she has this title match, and then there's just nothing. I don't know if she's been on Dynamite since losing this match. Nyla Rose is kind of in and out. It's just challengers being thrown at Shida. Tay Conti was the first person they like built up pretty well, and now Britt Baker. Look, they see it in Britt, and they should.
Yeah, no, she's great. And she's done just a really good job, like from where she started, where AEW started compared to now. She has been maybe the person I've enjoyed watching the most compared to where I thought about them when they started. Because I didn't really care much about Britt Baker, and she's made me care about her and really enjoy her.
As a babyface, there was something lacking. And Jim Ross being like, she's a dentist, she's a dentist, she's a dentist.
Is she?
Yes, I don't know if you know that, O'Neill, but she is a dentist. It didn't work out well for her. So there was something lacking as a babyface. The heel turn, being able to play off of Tony Schiavone, that certainly worked very, very well for her. So I'm glad to see Britt Baker thriving. Everyone who watches the Booty Pro Wrestling knows we love Britt, the Michael Jordan of our show. So it's good to see that. She's number one now. And again, I like that they're putting more into the rankings. It's very good to see.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? That's the thing about the rankings. Like, I know a lot of people, when they originally said they were going to have rankings, are like, oh, that's stupid. And I was one of them, but they've done a really good job only making them matter when they need to matter.
Dole Whips and Mickey Bars says, why doesn't anyone talk about Jordan's FA, which I assume free agent status? Is that what we're talking about? I mean, she's with Impact for right now. And I guess she's not under contract. My contract situation on Jordan is rough. I just associate her with Impact. I would like to see, Impact and AEW do more crossover with the women's division. Deanna was on Busted Open, and she said this many times of like, why can't I go to AEW and wrestle Britt? Why can't I go and wrestle these women? And I would love to see that. Deanna is somebody who like completely broke out after being released by WWE. She's one of the top females in the world, where in WWE she was barely getting used.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of another thing, going back to what we talked about earlier with the partnership, where I don't think maybe our expectations weren't right, but even something like FTR against Motor City Machine Guns is a match I really was dying to see, and they've just never even alluded to that.
They can't even get Rich Swann on television.
Yeah.
Like, we're not doing these dream matches. I think we were under a false illusion that, oh man, we're going to get all these dream matches now. And it's like, here's the Good Brothers doing a 6-man tag team match.
It would be kind of more like the WCW partnerships with Japan, where you could even have a full pay-per-view between guys on each show, and they just didn't do that. So maybe that's on me.
That's what Joseph thought. I think for Rebellion, and maybe even for Double or Nothing, like we were going to get the Good Brothers against the Young Bucks, or AEW against Impact Tag Team Champions type deal. And now they're aligned, and the Young Bucks are wearing fake Dior and stuff like this. Sean says that Jordan is under contract until May, has another set of tapings. That's why no one is talking about her free agent status, because she's not technically a free agent yet. Bob Harris says, would James fit better in ROH than AEW, I would assume? I said it. I think I cut myself off because I was talking about her care package. But I said it when she was released last week. I think Mickey just kind of does a run of wherever she wants to go and everybody welcomes her. I think she's going to pop up in the ROH women's division. And I don't know when their tournament, I know they announced the women's weekly thing, but I think she's going to have some type of part in that when she's free. I think she's going to do one-off matches in AEW. I think she's going to do one-off matches in NWA, and she's just going to have a run where it's like, hey, I'm really still good at this wrestling stuff. And she doesn't need to do like any type of convoluted storyline type deal. She just wants to go out there and have great matches because she's been sidelined from doing that since the fall. Josh Baker says, do you guys prefer more than one and done challenger style, or do you think rematch heavy style of WWE helps in terms of building the divisions? I don't mind one and done, but it's just follow up with the person who is done after that. And that's been my issue with the AEW women's challengers is they've lost and then they've just vanished off the face of the earth after it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about how, you book them after they lose. Because I don't have a problem with it either. I don't have a problem with them doing it for the TNT title every week either. Like, putting title matches on TV is cool. Even if it's just a guy that, normally wouldn't get it at a pay-per-view, that's cool to do it there. But it's about following up from that.
Yeah, I mean, they do the TNT title challenger stuff. And, I mean, they're doing that every week on Dynamite now, that the TNT title is getting defended. But you just don't see after a guy gets a shot, he just goes on and he just disappears off of television for weeks at a time. Like Jungle Boy lost last night. I can promise you Jungle Boy will be back on television in the next 2 weeks. And maybe he's just teaming with Luchasaurus, but he'll be back on television within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So they have to carry that over to the women too. But I think that's the next step.
O'Neill, it's past 4:00. Where's Joseph? Why have you not let him on?
We were wrapping up, man. I mean, I told you we can do Joseph's corner kick. I have no problem with that.
Okay, so let him on the show, O'Neill. What are we doing?
Well, we're just kind of waiting for Joseph to get. I think we need to talk about the ratings, though. That's what everyone's here for.
So you're delaying Joseph's return so you can brag, I assume, about Guys Grocery Games getting out and surpassing AEW. Is that what we're doing?
That's the move, yeah, man. That's kind of what started this whole run for me originally.
Well, I'm afraid I got some bad news for you, O'Neill.
Oh, no.
Because AEW finished second on the night, losing to my show, The Challenge, 5.8. AEW did a 0.37, 1.1 million viewers for AEW. Guys Grocery Games was at a 0.25 and 659,000 viewers. So your bit has died as Guys Grocery Games handily defeated by the All Elite Wrestling.
I think the problem is it's a lot of it's the pandemic. Once we're past the pandemic, I think those numbers will flip.
That's what you're going with?
Yeah.
You're going with the pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
Fine. If that's what you want to go with, sure. I can't believe you built this whole character of ratings talk, and then you're just going to reduce yourself to pandemic. You're worse than Vince McMahon.
Wow. Yeah, that's hurtful. You don't need to say things like that.
It's true. It is true, though.
Well, you know what the thing is the way that people watch TV has changed as well.
The linear eyeballs.
Exactly.
People were DVRing Guys Grocery Games, right? They watched it on that. JJ says, I want the great Joe Holbert. JJ, you know what? I'm overruling O'Neill here. He's trying to keep Joseph out of the picture. Joseph's here to say goodbye, everyone. Joseph, how are you, buddy?
Good evening, folks. Jeremy's a great host. Clearly, he's got through an hour of this thing, so he set this up for me. I'll do what I have to do, but there's a slight kind of caveat, change of plans here. As Rob knows better than anyone, things change real quick in a distraction universe, and it is a universe at this point, guys. Let me tell you. So before I came on here and said my goodbyes, and let's be honest, my apologies. I first had to go and talk to my friend and yours, Jeremy, not yours, Bob, Sean Rossap. He gave me this opportunity, right? He brought me in. I think I did a good job, but everything comes to an end. That's fine. So I actually made the trip guys. I actually went to see at Fightful headquarters, the mansion, sat by the pool for a bit, waited for Sean, went to speak to him. It was Tuesday. So, we said, why don't we do this? We'll watch The Distraction. That'd be kind of neat. Right, I'll watch you guys in your debut as a pair. And we sat there and the chat was kind of dwindling and people were upset. We started to fall asleep a little bit. And then Sean said, man, we need something. And he saw something in that moment. And it's hard for me to explain it or describe it to you, so I'll just show you. Just give me 1 second, guys. So he saw this, and for the longest, I've been saying that I'm the stunning Steve Austin of this show, right? Like I'm the mechanic. Now people don't realize how good I am, but I know how good I am. Well, in that case, it's 1995, and I'm in ECW right now, and Sean saw that in that moment. So to follow up on Bob's point earlier today, this is important, okay? Because Bob gave me this when I was watching the show as a fan. He says, I was good. I provided good service, right? So here's my best service yet. Sean Ross Sapp needs the new Stone Cold. So with that in mind, Holbert 316 says, Bob O'Neill, you're out of here. You're fired. You're done. I'm back. There we go.
There we go.
There we go, guys.
Thank God. Thank God this meeting happened. Joseph, did you see what I just had to go through?
It's tough, man. It's tough. But look, when I left, you were an all-star, like maybe a champion even. Yeah, you were a champion. We hung some banners around here. No, you're a Hall of Famer now, my friend. That was your magnum opus. I'm glad we got to do that. I get a bit more leverage because everyone now sees what the show's like without me. You get more leverage because you showed you could lead a losing team. What more is there to say? And Sean Rossett gets credit for the idea. Everything works out in the end, my friends. There you go.
But Bryan says Holbert with more drip than the Bucks. Way more. The Bucks don't have any.
I'm not going to comment on that. I don't want to get in trouble. One look back into myself.
5 minutes back, I'm already going to get you in trouble.
Yeah, no,
Joseph, I'm pals with TK now. Like, we're best friends.
A lot has happened, apparently, right? That's what I hear. I mean, based on the topics for today's show, we talk about Goldberg, Brock Lesnar. Like, I was devastated I missed out on all these fresh, hot topics,
Are you kidding me? Like, he messages me, and he's just like, hey, we got to talk about Goldberg. We got to talk about Brock Lesnar. Let's talk about Dynamite. He doesn't even have it's just like Dynamite, NXT, Raw. It was like, great. You just want to spend 4 minutes talking about the shows of the week? Like, fantastic.
I mean, I will give Bob some credit, Jeremy, because it's only fair we say this. He did watch more wrestling in the last week than I've ever done in preparation for this show. So in many ways, I say leverage. He may be the opposite. People may be sitting there saying, actually, I would like Bob O'Neill back to talk about being pretty cool and all that. No one?
No,
okay.
Nobody's saying
Well, there you go. I'm glad to be back. It's fun.
Taxel says everything is right in the Distraction universe. Thank you, SRS. Welcome back, Joe. Sean's going to get credit for doing nothing. Entertainment says you got Braun on the show.
See, I'm not feeling Braun. I'm feeling, like Hangover 2, Alan, when he gets the buzz cut and he's still got the wild bit. That's what I'm feeling, to be honest with you. But there you go. Either which way, I'm back. I no longer have like the hassle of swaying it back and forth and all that good stuff. The hat seemingly fooled people, Jeremy. Shocked me. Seemingly fooled people. But it did. So there you go. It worked.
I'm glad you're back. I'm glad we can get back to doing our normal show and not whatever we just did for the last hour.
Oh man, no more wrestling talk for you, Jeremy. By the way, I have another announcement just to follow up on this. Distraction post show is a strong term for Jeremy. You have work to do after this show, right? Yes. I don't. I have victory laps to be taken on Twitter. I have to apologize to everyone that was worried about me, so I have to go and do that. Then I imagine about 6 p.m. Eastern time, maybe a little bit later, you and I will basically be the prelude to the Impact Wrestling watch-along. Effectively, we can hang out, we can talk some shop, and talk about Holbert 316, brother. We're back.
Carlos Easy, I'm not reading your super chat because that's not true at all. JJ says Joe's got the Steve Austin pop from Backlash 2000.
I've not got his hair, so I'll take the pop.
Bob Harris says bring back the TEW game. You're in luck, Bob Harris, because tomorrow Booty Pro Wrestling on Twitch, twitch.tv/Fightful Gaming. We will be playing the Booty Pro Wrestling, and we will be giving away a Booty Pro Wrestling t-shirt. So if you join us for Twitch tomorrow for that. We're going to give away the Booty Pro t-shirt. We're going to be playing some Booty Pro. Joseph's back. We're going full force here, right?
We are. So, I mean, this show was the closest we've ever produced to what you would call arse, right? So you can commemorate that with the Booty Pro shirt.
I mean, second closest. I literally did show my ass cheeks one show.
I mean, very fair. But I will say, in addition, and this could be getting ahead of myself, Jeremy, but you guys, you're putting someone at the Impact Wrestling, and we actively avoid talking about it. But as far as I know, before their big show on Sunday, we'll be celebrating our Saturday night before Masvidal fights Usman and all that good stuff by watching an Impact show. Is what I think. I think the idea is, Jeremy. I don't know. I'm freelancing this, right? Sean and I worked a lot of stuff out, but I think that's the plan, guys. We've got a lot coming up.
Yeah, we're going to be on Twitch all weekend. All right, so join us. Josh Baker says controversy creates cash. Joe Hobart. I mean, that's your guy, right? That's your guy.
Actually, kind of is like not the the silver fox element, but it is kind of GM-bish. I'm for that. I like that a lot. Let's go with that.
All right, everybody. We're going to be on Twitch whenever I get done with financial stuff. I'd imagine 6:00 or so at the latest. Joseph is back. Thank God. No more Robert O'Neill. None. He's never going to be on this show again.
Look, I do want to say this, Jeremy. We have a lot of fun, but in all seriousness, I do want to thank the people that reached out. Right? Like I saw some stuff in my emails from DMs, and I was like, I'm just going to wait. I'll sort it out. I'll get myself out of trouble afterwards. But I do appreciate it. It is cool that you guys stuck with the show for an hour and watch Bob, talk about Brock Lesnar and all that good stuff. But I have to make a promise here. And I don't say this lightly, Jeremy. You know me. Okay? I'm a little bit unpredictable. But I'm never leaving this show, man. Like in whatever form, until someone pays me enough money to, I'm not leaving this show. You're going to get some of me. You ain't getting rid of me that easily, guys. I'm sorry to say it. But there you go. Thank you, folks. It's been fun.
Guys, we'll be back next week. I promise you, the beginning of next week's show, you won't want to miss it. I promise you, everyone. We'll talk to y'all.